Okay, I have a cool effect to share with you today. It's an original effect, and we'll begin with just 13 random cards that the spectator can freely choose. Okay. Now, for this particular routine, I'm going to explain to you all along what I'm doing, and then in the end, I'll point out how it is that we were able to accomplish what we did. Okay, so spectator just freely puts out, let's see, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 random cards. They hand them to you. Okay, so let me just tell you the first secret. If you're familiar with the pigeonhole principle, so don't show the spectator these cards. They were freely chosen by the spectator. Okay, so by the pigeonhole principle, 13 cards, enough cards to guarantee that there will be at least one of the 4 suits for which you'll have at least 4 cards of that suit. Okay, so that's by the pigeonhole principle given 13 cards. So for example, we can see among the clubs, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've already met our pigeonhole principle requirement. Are there 4 of any others? Maybe a spade? Spade, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's nice. And then it looks like for the red cards, we have at most 2. But the fact is, you'll be able to choose 4 cards of the same suit. And it really doesn't matter which one. So why don't we go ahead and we'll choose the clubs. Now don't tell the spectator this. Just kind of pull them out, set them down as one pile here. And then for the second pile, choose anything but clubs. And it's nice to have cards of the opposite color to the ones you just chose. So in particular, maybe choose a couple of red cards if you can. So here's a spade. So we can choose a diamond, a heart, and maybe another spade. Okay, don't tell the spectator that, right? Discard these, they're not needed. Okay, so we have these 2 piles of 4 cards each. Ask the spectator to stack them in either order, so maybe they want right on left. Okay, and now we're going to give them, the spectator, a whole bunch of choices. Really, so from now on, they are determining what happens with the cards. They really are in terms of their choices. Okay, so I just put out 2 sets of 4, kind of going downhill. I'm sorry about that. Okay, and so the options we're going to give the spectator right away is we're going to switch 2 cards in each row with 2 cards in the other row. Okay, so for example, we could switch the outer 2. We could switch the inner 2. We could switch the outer 2 diagonal cards, or we could switch the inner 2 diagonal cards. It truly is a free choice. So what would you like? And maybe the spectator will say, switch the outer 2 diagonal cards, just like that. Okay, that's just fine. Now, you're free to stack these from left to right, or right to left. That's fine. Okay, or have the spectator do that. Okay. Now, because of the special organization of the packet, and I'll add a link in the description below that talks about this special organization, that in fact can be mixed in 1,152 unique ways and not harm the organization that we've just secretly set up. Okay, so what that means then is there's just hundreds of shuffles that can't be performed where the spectator is sounding in on how things are stacked or which shuffle to perform, how many times, that kind of thing, or what order things are done, and it won't harm this. Okay, so I'll show you just a few mixing procedures that you can perform, and it won't harm this. So we can do a left-right with random stacking decided by the spectator, maybe right on left, that's just fine. We can also do what's called a Klondike shuffle. Take the top and bottom off as 1, like that. That wouldn't hurt anything. Well, don't tell the spectator any of this. And then you can explain to the spectator, we can perform even or odd up jogs. Okay. We can Deal out into 4 piles with random stacking from left to right or right to left. That would be just fine. Spectator decides that. Okay. We can perform an Australian down under. Seen that before? Down, down, under, down, under. Last one goes on top. We can perform something called the Charlier 1, and I can add a link in the description below to the Charlier 1. You can perform this one as many times as you like. Okay, so that's just a few of the hundreds of shuffles you could perform. So you could have the spectator tell you how many times to perform any of those shuffles, and they can have you perform those mixing procedures in any order and in any quantity. Now, once the spectator is convinced that the cards are beyond the knowledge of anyone, and it really should not take very long for the simple reason that you as the performer could not have possibly anticipated which of the shuffles the spectator would have you perform, in what quantity and what order, and then the random choices made within some of these shuffles. Another great one that we can perform is something called a mange over, under, over, under, over, under, over. Comes in another variety, namely under, over, under, over. Okay, so you can perform that as many times as the spectator calls for. And maybe finally, why don't we do a Pharaoh? I'm just giving you more ideas. That's all I'm doing. A Pharaoh shuffle is where you take half the cards and then you just perfectly interlace them in some fashion. One of these will be a Pharaoh in, the other one a Pharaoh out. Either one's fine. Once the spectator is content with the mixing, all you need to do is go back to your 2 rows of 4 that we had before. Give the spectator the same choices as before. We can switch the outer 2. We can switch the inner 2. We can switch the diagonal outer 2. Or we can switch the diagonal inner 2, their choice. So maybe they'll want the inner 2 cards like this, switch. That's just fine. Now, at this point, you don't have to worry about stacking the rows left to right or right to left because we're finished. You can just push them together, push this together, okay? And then you're going to now use your incredible powers of perception and clairvoyance to try to ascertain what it is we have done in separating these cards into 2 piles of 4. Is there anything special we've done with the particular shuffling sequences that you chose? And then you had this final choice of 4 ways to kind of switch 2 cards from the top row to the bottom. Where has that led us? So let's just kind of use our intuition here and try to get a sense as to what maybe we've done. Okay, so this is where your acting can come in, and you can pretend that you're kind of receiving slight little nudges from the beyond as to what has happened, what is in these 2 piles. And the clear picture and sensation that I'm getting is that somehow we have separated cards of the same suit into 1 pile and cards of the 3 other suits into the other pile. So let's see if we've done that. Is it true that one of these piles has 4 cards of the same suit and the other one has cards of the 3 other suits in some order? Okay, well, let's just check. Well, that's interesting. Okay, what do we have over here? Those aren't the same. Oh, check that out. These are the same. Oh boy, how did you do that? Through your incredible intuitive choice making throughout this whole procedure. And how is it that I was able to divine that you've actually accomplished the very thing that you have here? A set of 4 of 1 suit, and the other 4 will be of the other 3 suits in some order. Okay, whoa. How did you do that? Well, I've shown you how we did it, okay? So if you just go back to the beginning, choose 13 random cards, By the pigeonhole principle, you're guaranteed to be able to kind of secretly choose 4 cards of the same suit and then choose 4 others that aren't of that suit, and then do all of the steps that I showed you, and this will work for you every time. Now, if you want to learn why this works and learn additional mixing that you could do and still succeed with the finale, then take a look at the playlist linked in the description below to learn about these remarkable packet structures that are easy to construct, but boy, they're unharmed by so many systematic mixing procedures used today. So thank you for watching, and take a look at other videos on the Absolute Math Magic channel.